Film. Thanks to the band. Good morning, everyone here and those watching online. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm Reverend Eric Odell. I'm serving as the interim minister while Genesis is between senior ministers. Today I want to recap our January theme and just remind everyone that we actually have a theme in January. The theme has been New Year, New Possibilities. And in the first 3 weeks of the month, the emphasis has been on what you are creating, what you want, what your intentions are, what it is that you want to receive. And today, to close out this series, I also want to focus on what you are and what you give. Because we get, a new thought I've noticed over the 25 years, we get so focused on who will answer our prayer that we forget that we get the privilege of also getting to be the answer to someone else's prayer, which is why my talk title today is You Are Someone Else's Answered Prayer. You are someone else's answered prayer. And this can be, it doesn't have to be big things, it can be just words and actions that are very small, but it can be big things. So for instance, if you show up at a restaurant and you are cheerful, respectful, pleasant, you're respectful to the staff, the wait staff, you have your food, you give a nice tip, you are the answer to that wait person's prayer and the restaurant staff's prayer. You're their answered prayer. They're praying, whether they're conscious of it or not, and often just our desires that we put out of prayers. Their desires to have the restaurant full of people who are respectful and cheerful and don't cause trauma, don't cause drama. That doesn't mean you don't send the food back if you're not happy, but you don't have to be you don't have to bring unnecessary drama into the situation. You just say, this isn't working for me. I'm an iced tea drinker, and I love iced tea, and other iced tea drinkers know that it needs to be cold and it needs to be fresh. I don't want much. I just want it to be cold and I want it to be fresh. And if they bring me a glass of iced tea and it's lukewarm and it's been sitting there for 3 days, I cheerfully will send it back. And if they can give me fresh tea, I'll take it, and if they can't, I'll have something else. And I don't make drama about it, but I don't take something I don't want, okay? But your respectful, responsible adult behavior in a restaurant is somebody's answered prayer. When the band has a wedding gig and you show up and you're not stoned and you're not late and you have your act together and you do a good job and you play music that people want to hear at a wedding, you're not going to play Rachmaninoff, you're not going to play a Rachmaninoff piano concerto at a wedding. They don't need to be dragged down. You're going to play great dance music. You're going to play the song for the bride's dance. And when you do that, you're the bride's answered prayer. You may think about, I need this gig and I want this money, which is reasonable and fair. But when you do a great job, you're somebody else's answered prayer. And an encouraging word can seem like a small thing, but an encouraging word can change someone's life forever. There's a wonderful story about this girl. She was a child born into a very wealthy family in Philadelphia. And the parents, unfortunately, had very mixed up and unhealthy attitudes about money and about parenting, and were relentlessly critical and belittling of this child. And there was a young maid who worked in the household, and one day at dinner time, the parents had gone out for a dinner party, and the child was eating in the enormous dining room all by herself. And the maid did something that could have gotten her in a lot of trouble, but she sat down with the little girl and said to her, I want you to know that I'm a witness to what is going on in this house. And the way you are being treated is not right. You are not who they say you are. You are wonderful. You will leave this house someday and have a wonderful life. Do take everything that your parents say with a grain of salt. And she basically saved that girl's life, because if a child has one adult, even just one adult in their life who sees them for who they truly are, that can counteract all the negativity of all the other adults. And you have that power. You have that power to be a positive influence in someone's life that could completely change the whole trajectory of their life. And isn't that awesome? Take a second to think about that, and to think about how great is it that you are given that opportunity. Because our words have power. Otherwise, why would we bother? You may be praying for a life partner, and when finally meeting the right person, you think, you are my answered prayer. Don't forget, you are their answered prayer. The good that you seek is seeking you. Don't forget that part. And if you want to keep being their answered prayer, stay awake in the relationship. And that's a whole other sermon, but I don't have time for that. I was praying for a wonderful part-time job. I retired. Forgive me because I spoke to this a little bit on Christmas Eve. I hate to repeat myself, but I seem to be doomed to do that forever. Anyway, so I retired a year ago, December, and I was very happily retired. And then several months in, I started to notice that I didn't quite have enough to do. It was just like I was sort of stuck, sort of twiddling my thumbs. I'd sort of lazed around and took it easy for several months, and then something was like, you know what would be great is a little part-time job. A little part-time job that would be really great, that paid just a certain amount of money. And then in November I got the call, and and Genesis wanted to offer me a little part-time job that paid exactly the amount of money that I envisioned. Are you noticing? That's how it works. And absolutely, Genesis, with this job offer, is my answered prayer. I mean, my prayer partner, well, my two prayer partners and I prayed that this would happen, and you were my answered prayer. But guess what? I apparently am your answered prayer. God help you. And you know, I am here to be the greatest interim minister that I possibly can be. And it's my intention, and I don't mind repeating myself and announcing it to you all, is that during my tenure as interim, giving and attendance at Genesis is going up. Would that work for you? Let's have that. Even when you're not at your best, even when you're not aware or consciously giving to others or aware that you are others' answered prayer, you can be someone else's answered prayer. For instance, doctors, dentists, and nurses need patients. When you engage with the medical profession, your emphasis is on healing. Your emphasis on, I need people to show up who are my answered prayer. Don't forget, you are their answered prayer. How can healers fulfill their dream of healing others if somebody doesn't show up sick? Amen? Yeah. How will a firefighter fulfill their dream of being a hero if there's never a fire? You are someone else's answered prayer, and you may not even know it. And this is something that happened to me. Because a few months ago, maybe a year or two ago, I can't remember quite now, there was a young woman who came to attend a service at Amazing Grace. This is a person that I had known many years before when she was a young adult, and she had moved on to California. And she came up to me after the service and she said, I have something to tell you. She says, you don't know this, but at the time that I was a young adult at a different center for spiritual living, she said, I was deeply depressed. I was struggling with a lot of issues, and I was making a plan to kill myself. And because I knew you, because I interacted with you, because I sang in your choir, because of who you are, I did not kill myself. And I was taking a survey after that, and it said, what is the greatest thing you've ever done in your life? And I thought, well, when I had a theater company, it was great. I was a really good waiter, then I was a really good theater artistic director, then I was a really good college professor in theater, then I was a really good music director at CSL. I was a really good music director. I'm bragging on myself. Put up with that, but it's true. And then I was a minister. And I thought about all those different things, and then I remembered what this gal told me, and I thought, that is the greatest thing I've ever done. That is the greatest thing I've ever done, and I didn't even know I had done it. You don't know all the good. You don't know all the good that you are. Take a deep breath on that. This is a beautiful gift to us from the Creator, that we get to have our prayers answered, and we also get to be the answer to someone else's prayer. And so in this series, this January series, very common, it was not an original idea that the series would be called New Year, New Possibilities, right? What are you going to do in January? You're going to talk about new possibilities. As you're thinking about the things that you want and the things that you want to receive, my question to you is, would you be open to increasing your capacity to be the answer to other people's prayer? What would that mean? Studies have shown that most people get more satisfaction out of giving money than receiving it. Numerous studies, they take two groups of people, they give at random, they give this group a certain amount of money, and they say, go spend it on yourself. They give the same amount of money to the people in this group, and they say, give it to someone else. And then they ask them how their happiness level has increased, and this group is much happier than this group. This is not to say that it is better to give than to receive. I think they're both great. And I don't think there's anything wrong with having this. This is not, you should be poor. Don't hear, you should be poor, you should give more. But how would it be if you increased your giving, your kindness, your generosity, your encouragement, your respectfulness, your service, your joyful service? I want to talk to you about this book that I had the opportunity to read when I was in January. And it's called An Invisible Thread. And it's a New York Times bestseller about how two lives were changed when a successful ad rep in Manhattan was stopped by a homeless 11-year-old boy who was panhandling. He said, he asked for spare change, and she went past him, and something made her stop and come back. And she said, I'm not going to give you change, but how about if I take you to dinner? How about if I take you to McDonald's? And he says, can I have a Big Mac? She said, yes. Can I have fries? Yes. He said, can I have a big Coke? She said, yes. He said, can I have a milkshake? She said, yes. So they went, and she got all of that for him. And this led to many weeks of her taking him to McDonald's. And eventually, he began to warm up to her. He was very cautious, and she started making dinner for him at her house, because you can only have McDonald's for so long. The woman's name is Laura Schroff, and the boy's name Maurice. And in spite of very different backgrounds, they found out over time that they had something in common, which was very abusive fathers. He grew up in the projects with a drug addict mother and a drug addict grandmother, and lots of chaos, and no clothes, no laundry, no one providing food. He basically ate what he could panhandle. And she grew up in a middle-class suburban household, and they both suffered from very abusive fathers. And that was something they had very much in common. When he got to her place, he'd never been in a living space so clean, quiet, and so safe. And she found out that he primarily panhandled for lunch money at school. So she started making him lunches. And he asked her to put them in a paper bag because then he would be like everyone else at the school. Then after some period of time where their trust had built up, he asked her to go to a parent-teacher conference because no parent had ever been to a parent-teacher conference for him. And his teacher, Kim, tells her Maurice often shows up late or not at all and is the victim of lots of bullying. And she says to Laura, if you really want to help Maurice, you have got to be there for the long haul because the boy has been let down by adults many, many times. And Laura made that commitment within herself that she was going to be there for Maurice in the long haul. She scolded him for missing school, and he tells her that there isn't a clock in the drug den apartment where he sleeps. So she gets him a clock and a watch. There's a lot of learning that's going on both sides. She takes him to her sister's house in the suburb where there's other kids, and they sit around a dining table and they have dinner and they actually talk, and the parents actually ask the kids about their lives. And he has never seen that. These are possibilities that are opening up, windows that are opening up, and he gets a vision for what he wants as an adult, which is he wants a wife and kids, and he wants a dining table, and he wants to sit around the table with his kids and ask them how they are and what's going on with them. And this is a possibility that would never have been available to him without Laura. She shows him how to blow his nose, because no one's ever told him how to blow his nose. And she shows him how to use silverware, because no one ever told him how to use silverware. Eventually, Maurice creates a successful construction business and has a wife and 5 kids, and they get a big dining table, and they sit around and have dinner. And the kids tell the parents how they're doing. The reason I'm telling you this story today is that when people find out about Laura and Maurice, they often marvel at what a blessing Laura has been to give so much for so long to Maurice. But Laura always maintains that she received much, much more from the relationship. That's the power of giving. Being a successful ad rep for Laura wasn't enough for a sense of purpose in her life. Having the privilege of encouraging and supporting Maurice to become the man he was capable of becoming was, in her experience, her greatest reward. I have a story similar to this from my life in ministry so far. I was a congregant with a daughter, and her life was very chaotic. And she was really struggling. And I can't remember how it came about. I can't remember whether she asked me for help one day or if I offered to help. But I wound up coming to her place and just beginning to help her. Just do things for her. Just help her out. And over a period of time, a few years, of extended support, and not just from me, but from me, her life really turned around. The chaos disappeared. Her prosperity issues were healed, and her life and her daughter's life were greatly improved. And on the day that Donald Trump was elected president, my stepmother died at the age of 91. I think she was just not going to go forward into the new era. She wasn't going there. Anyway, she passed on. And it was a beautiful passing, and we had a lovely connection. And after many years of not getting along very well, and it was very good at the end. And she passed and left me and my 2 brothers a chunk of money, each of us a chunk of money. It was in low 6 figures. You can now judge me Those of you who have issues about money and class, go ahead and judge me, but I got this money. And I practiced tithing. So that meant I had a 5-figure tithe. 5-figure tithe. And I did have a moment where I thought, are you really going to give that much money away? But I was, tithing has totally prospered me in every possible way. And I am a strict tither, and I give 10% off the top of every penny I receive to place, person, institution from which I receive spiritual food. So I had a big chunk of money to give. And once I went, oh, but I have all this money to give, it was really fun. It was like, we're going to give this money. And I realized that I wanted to give a portion of it to this congregant, because having served her in this way and seeing how her life and her daughter's life so turned around was so rewarding that I wanted to give this money to her. And so I came to her and I said, I came into some money and I have a tithe and I'm giving you this tithe. And she saw the amount and she just was like, I cannot, after all you've done for me, I cannot take this tithe. And I said, you do not deny me this blessing. Take this money. You can pass it right on if you want, that's your business. But do not deny me this blessing. And it was the most significant of all the tithes that I gave out of that money. You can be someone's answered prayer. It's a great game to play. I'm challenging you. I'm encouraging you. I'm inviting you. I'm not commanding you. Darn it. We're not a born-again Christian place where I can stand up here and tell you in black and white everything of what's what and yet what you have to do. Darn it. I don't get to do that. We're New Thought. I can invite. Be encouraging, be generous with your time and treasure. Be polite. Be encouraging. Be a listening ear. Be respectful. Show up. Be patient. Be flexible. Be forgiving. Humbly ask for forgiveness and apologize swiftly and completely when you're wrong. How many of us, you know you've done something you shouldn't do, and it stings, and something in you says you should apologize and ask for forgiveness, and you just don't get to it? How many people, you take your sweet time. You want to be forgiven instantly, but you take your sweet time asking for forgiveness. Oh, we're so human. Now, you don't always have to say yes to the other person, because sometimes your no, or not yet, is their answered prayer. You know, sometimes your answered prayer is no, or not yet. Otherwise, help a stranger when it's yours to do so. Pray for yourself, but also be sure to pray for others. As you think about the ways you want to experience a greater good in 2022, think not only about what expanded gifts you want to receive, but also what greater gifts you can give to others. It's a great song I'm going to close with some lyrics from a great song by Mahalia Jackson. If I'd have thought of it before yesterday, I would have asked you guys to do it, but I'm not going to spring it on you at the last second. Smile when you're happy, and smile when you're sad. Look pleasing when mistreated, and be patient when you're mad. Be forgiving, someone refuse you, the good Lord looks for such. Live right each day, and smile on your way, because it don't cost very much. No, it don't cost very much to place a gentle touch, to give a glass of water to a pilgrim in need of such. Well, you may not be an angel, and you may not go to church, but the good that you do will come back to you, and it don't cost very much. Let's pray. Oh, let's take a deep breath. And I just am so filled with the love of the infinite, the divine Holy One that gives us so much, has given us everything. The floodgates of heaven are open to us at every second, and we receive according to our unfoldment, according to our openness. And because we have already been given everything, we have so much to give. I bless our power of consciousness to bless and heal and prosper another from afar. We may not even ever meet them in person, and yet we can be a positive power in the life of others. And I am so grateful that this is true. I'm so grateful for our fabulous practitioners here at Genesis who constantly pray for us, who hold the lamp, who hold the high watch for us. And anyone can be a practitioner of this teaching who does the same in whatever way. You may not know how to do a 5-stage prayer treatment in correct order and grammar, but you can extend a positive thought, and it doesn't take a class to do that. And so I bless us today. I bless all the ways in which we are answering other people's prayers just by being who we are. Our innate goodness, our innate generosity, our innate kindness, our power, our storehouses of good that we have to circulate, knowing that this is for what we are made. All is well, life is good, and together we say, and so it is.
Way in the water, God's gonna trouble the water. See those people dressed in white. God's gonna trouble the water. They look like the children of the Israelites. God's gonna trouble the water. Way in the water. Way in the water, children. Oh,
so much, Joan Penny and Second Shot. Let's give them another round of applause. So now it is indeed that time in our service where we get to be part of that circulation and that good, both to receive good and to give good. So as we came into the Carco Theater today, you were likely given a little yellow prayer card, and it's time for us to fill those out. So if you did not grab one on the way in, if you would raise your hand, and Andrew will come around and hand out prayer cards and pens and offering envelopes to anyone that was not able to pick those up on the way in. And for those of you that have those cards, take a minute and fill that out. You can fill that out for yourself. You can fill that out for a friend. You can fill it out for both. If you need more than one prayer card, Andrew has extras. You can raise your hand if you need more than one. So we're just going to take a minute and write out our prayer requests. And so also, our center is supported by God, and we welcome you to be a part of how God shows up to support us by crafting a financial gift to Genesis at this time. So I'd like to give you a moment to write out a check, or you can go online to our website. There's a great big donate button, a donut button. We should add one of those, a donate button. I know that there's also, I believe there's also one on our Facebook group page. So our Facebook page has a donate button too. So that's an opportunity for you to help support this ministry, that we may keep showing up and giving us that opportunity to come together in community and do what we do.
When the night has come and the land is dark,
And so now I'd like to invite you to take your prayer card and your offering, or your representation of your offering, and hold it against your heart and say with us together our offering blessing. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and so it is. And so now we have Andrew coming around to collect the offering. And meanwhile, I'd like to invite Second Shot to play our offering song, and you're invited to stand if it's comfortable and sing along with Second Shot.
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings, God gives me everything I need. God is my joy, God is my power, God
like to say a blessing over the offering. I just recognize the gift that this offering is and how it circulates. And I am just so deeply grateful for our opportunity to be in service through prayer, through financial gift, and through so many other avenues that we are presented with every day. So I am grateful for the giving, and I am grateful for the receiving, knowing that what is given comes back to us tenfold. And so it is. Amen. And so now I invite you to sing our closing song with us.
No, but it was soft, in the belly. It was so hot, it was so hot. You could not stand well unless it was at least 30 degrees.
Okay, good job. So we'll have fun on the night. We'll go over that stuff. I haven't heard today. Great job. Thank you. So great. Yes, sir. Yes.
wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. See those people dressed in white. God's gonna trouble the water. They look like the children of the Israelites.